Just another a bit of land just on Kaikorai Valley there.
Nice, nice. I feel the volume coming to us, and I think we're live. We're live, Jace?
We are live.
We are live in the Department of Conversation with Dion Mārie. Dion, thank you for joining us. You are joining us today because of your association with Flat Earth New Zealand. Is that the official name of the Facebook page?
Correct.
Flat Earth New Zealand?
Yep.
But as with the Department of Conversation, we don't really do interviews. So it's not going to be Q&A. We have a chat. Cool. I have a chat with you. You have a chat with me. Jace has a chat with both of us. He's the smartest and the best looking, so
that's why I'm not on camera.
He'll be behind the scenes, adding to the conversation as well. And I've been wanting to have this conversation since we started doing this. You and I met must be 4 months ago in a little cafe in Dunedin. And since then, I've been down a rabbit hole of flat earth stuff. YouTube is a fascinating place to see both people talking about the flat earth, people debunking the flat earth, people debunking the debunkers of the flat earth and going on. It's really, my kids now, Dad, can we watch another one of those flat earth videos? It's been great. It's been really good. So I've been looking forward to this since we started. So thank you for coming in and talking to us about it. But because it is a conversation as well, and we want people to know about you and we want to know more about you, give us a bit of your background, not necessarily about the flat earth stuff, but about who you are, where you are. Because with the greatest of respect, a lot of people would think that to believe in a flat earth, which would be the minority of society, you're probably not the smartest, the sharpest tool in the shed. Now, I'm not saying that, but I think that's probably fair to say a lot. I mean, you must get it. There'd be a lot of people who would say you're a bunch of idiots. Sort of
fair
thing.
Cool.
So tell us about you. Tell us about where you came from. Tell us about. I understand your academic excellence and stuff as well, and so we know a bit more about Dion.
Well, I grew up in Invercargill Bluff, Southland boy, the oldest of 5 children. Normal kid, loved my sport, played rugby, cricket, all that kind of thing. Enjoyed sport immensely. Came straight from school to the University of Otago here, did a BCom in production, mainly in food production. Did vineyards, orchards, stuff like that, and then went into the meat industry. I was asked actually why I went into the meat industry, having a commerce degree as a freezing worker, and I basically replied that my grandfather was a freezing worker, my dad was a freezing worker, so it's kind of in the blood.
Right.
And when they started cutting down apple trees in Motueka, which is where I was at the time, I seen the writing on the wall, so I knew the freezing works paid well, so I applied for a job in Nelson Freezing Works with Alliance and got it. And then I went into management eventually, picked up a production planner's job down south with South Pacific Meats, which is part of the AFCO group, Tally's boys. And from there I went to Sulphurn Farms and Cerebus Coffee Factory here and a few other places, and now I'm at Progressive Plastics.
And you're in management. You're running a team, running a group of others.
Correct.
So what is the BCom, Bachelor of Commerce? How has that helped you in your current role? Because obviously BCom, you think about finance, you think about money, you think about accounting on some level. How has that helped with what you're doing now? Or is it one of those things, like I did a Bachelor of Education, diploma in teaching, to be truthful. It's got nothing to do with what I do now, so it's not associated at all. Do you still use your BCom? Is it still relevant to your work today?
Not really. I mean, I did a degree specialising in money. I wanted to learn all about money, and the object of that was to get rich,
okay,
like most people want to be, and to understand the money system. I was always curious about who the government owed debt to and stuff like that. Not that I learned it in university. That was something I picked up later on. But that was the main point for doing that subject. So
you wanted to know who the government owed debt to. You wanted to know how the financial systems worked.
Correct.
And with your study and I guess your experience after study, what did you find out?
In a nutshell, it's run by a very small group of people.
We're talking like the world financial systems?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, surprisingly small. And there's a small group of people at the apex, and the rest filters down from there.
And what does that mean for us? What does that mean for us living here today?
For us, or for just about any country, it's things are controlled to a certain extent. I mean, we still have the everyday freedoms. At least there's the illusion of freedom there, or at least there's freedom enough for us to do what we want as individuals. But things are designed, including the way the media spills things. There's always I guess you could call it an agenda.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's the way I see things.
Yeah, and look, I think that, I mean, I've been involved in media for 20 plus years, so I can speak to that, and I agree with you, you know, that the media does spin things at times. One of the things we're trying to do here in this particular, you know, broadcast podcast is to actually go, there's no filters. You can use whatever language you like. We can talk for 20 minutes or we can talk for 2 hours. We've got no 3-minute advert to throw to in 90 seconds, so we've got to cut short. I think we've said something on the Facebook page like, we talk until the conversation's over.
Cool.
And that's what we want to do, you know, and that's the part of what we're doing. I mean, I can't speak to the, you know, the Bilderberg group type conspiracies and the, you know, the what's the triangle, the eye in the triangle?
The Illuminati.
The Illuminati, yeah, something like that. I can't speak. I've never experienced it, done no research on it, don't know anything about it. But the media stuff, you know, I get that a bit more. Mm-hmm. And I think what we're trying to do is come into this mainstream media world going, yeah, that's a pretty rooted system. Let's get out full conversations where people can really get across their message.
Good on you, Pat. I think there's room for that. I think there's a big gap in the market for that. So good on you.
We just got to let people know about it now. But listen, and that's why we wanted to talk to you, right? No question. Like, I want to talk to people who are interesting, who have interesting perspectives. We may or may not get to an agreement. We may or may not come to a similar place at the end. We may or may not change our positions. You know, I'm aware that there is that saying, I don't know who said it, but for those that believe no proof is needed, for those that don't, no proof is enough. Yeah. I hope we don't, not just you and I, but when I do these kinds of conversations, we don't get into that head-butting kind of situation. I'm not interested in that.
Well, you're not trolling me, so...
No. And I mean, we've been talking on and off for 3 or 4 months, and both of us have been determined to make this happen. So, you know, I think it's been good. So you've finished up at university, you're working around the place, and at that stage you were someone who believed in the heliocentric, the globe model. It's probably something you never thought of. You just accepted it.
Definitely.
Okay. How did your journey go from there?
Well, I've been reading the Bible for a number of years. Probably started when I was 26. The reason for that was, again, truth, finding out, you know, why we're here. I mean, I'd come to the conclusion that the world was controlled by a small group of people, but I mean, then I asked the bigger question about why am I here? What is this life for? What's the purpose? You know, what the hell am I doing here? You know? So I, you know, I was like any questioning person. I drink a lot of beer. I did a few substances, and you know, one thing that kind of made me go down the spiritual route, I guess, was psychedelics.
Right.
I did magic mushrooms when I was younger, and found out there's a whole other world there. And so started looking into different spiritual books, particularly Eastern mysticism, Zen-like type of stuff. I guess you could call it Buddhism, and loosely. And started looking into world religions, and then into UFOs and stuff like that, you know, Whitley Strieber books. And
were you someone who, as a younger person, you know, before you went down this path, was attracted to, and I don't, some people use the word conspiracy theory as like a negative. I'm not. I'm just using it as a way to define those uncommon beliefs. Were you someone who was drawn to that? You know, were you the kid who thought, you know, I like these UFO comics, it could be real? Or was this really a new journey for you?
Totally new. Now, as a kid, I never thought about that stuff. Right. You know, I was the average kid that loved sport, thought the world was great and everything around me I was free to do what I wanted, you know, so I didn't really look into that spiritual aspect. I've got to say, though, I was sent to church as a young guy.
And you mean like a Christian denomination church? When
Presbyterian, yeah. But I mean, the whole family went. The interesting thing is I'm the oldest, and I was sent to church alone, or told to go to church alone from a very young age. I never knew the reason why. I probably still don't.
So what, you were sent and your siblings weren't?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a bit rough.
Yeah, I found that a bit strange too. But eventually they all joined me. So.
Okay.
But as I said, you know, when I got into my teen years, got to uni and had my own freedom to do what I wanted. I rejected all that.
Right.
And I went into that Eastern type of mysticism. And one day I just got a bit frustrated with it all. And something inside me said, read my book. And I realised at that moment that I travelled around a backpack, lived out of a backpack probably till I was almost 30. And I think at the age of 26, I'd already filled myself with a lot of religious material. And something inside me said, read my book. And I realised at that moment that I always carried my childhood Bible around in my backpack for some reason. I never opened it. It was just something I did without thinking. And so I knew automatically what book it was. So, I'd heard all the Bible stories. I'd been to church and I'd heard them all. And I had this idea of the Christian God, I guess you could say. But, that was, I realised that I'd have been taught all that. That was what was told to me. So I decided to read it as an objective adult and make my own decisions and chucked out all that I thought I knew and started from scratch and opened up at Genesis and started reading.
So like a clean sheet. Like
Totally.
It's like you're seeing it for this belief system for the first time.
Totally.
Right.
And taking it and thinking about how I interpret it myself rather than what I've been told.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And it didn't take very long. I mean, I didn't even get through the first few books before I realised how much it related personally to my life, the experience that the Israelites went through and the rest of the ups and downs and what God said would happen to them if they did this. And then as I got through the book, I realised it was analogous to, I guess, what happens today with empires rising and falling, the moral kind of aspect. Once I guess we can see it in America today, once they turn their back on the morals that made them great, there starts to be a moral decline that ends up being an economic decline that turns into an almost physical, total decline, which is what we're seeing now, I guess. So I studied up on empires as well and read a book about how empires go through certain phases. And when I read that, it was only repeating what the Bible had already kind of showed me in that manner. And I guess that happens on an individual level too, not just in empires. You can take it to the micro level. It happens with individuals as well, I guess. Yeah. So
when you say micro, so empires rise and fall, people rise and fall.
Well, yeah.
People's lives, they have highs and lows.
Yes, definitely.
Right.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. But I think there's always I guess we kind of get into the area of moral absolutes then and moral law, so to speak. And I believe there is an absolute moral law. I mean, we all know not to murder, not to steal, not to lie. We know these things are wrong without even needing to really think about it. We can lie to ourselves and go, but I'm not the type. I like to be as honest as I can with myself. And I think that's the start, being as honest as you can with yourself.
And I've noticed, and there's a rabbit hole that I've gone down of Flat Earth, which I really have enjoyed. There is a lot of religion, a lot of talk of God within that community. So you going down this path of understanding more about, your own journey and seeing your story in the Bible and stuff, was that part of the catalyst that led you to the Flat Earth theory? Is that how you began your journey to there?
Yeah.
Oh, and
definitely.
Actually, why?
Definitely.
Why is there such a lot of God in the Flat Earth community? Like a lot. If you get on the page, there is a lot of
totally.
God creates that kind of language.
Totally. And that's not unusual. I mean, and it's not necessarily just Christian either. I mean, if you look back to cultural cosmology, before 500 years ago, and even further back, most cultures accepted a flat Earth, whether they were God of Bible-based, Islam, Buddha, Hindu. It doesn't really matter. You look around most ancient cultures, and they have a flat Earth model right from the very start. So, for God to come into the equation, I guess it's natural. I mean, under the heliocentric model at the moment, we're kind of told that everything's evolution. There was a big bang. That's a scientific spiel on it.
Well,
anyway.
that's not necessarily true. There are a lot of Christian people out there who believe in creation
totally.
and still believe in a heliocentric model.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Because it has to be a cause. I mean, if a big bang explosion, it just doesn't happen without a cause, does it? So, I mean, most people that, let's say, scientific believers in a creator, I guess would say, yeah, well, he had to cause it. But in my experience, I mean, explosions cause destruction and destroy things. I've never seen an explosion create order and matter and life itself. So I guess that's where I differ. So.
And so we were saying, why does it relate so much to a lot of flat earthers, the God connection, and how did that influence your journey to getting to be someone who believes that the earth is flat?
Well, even though I accepted a lot of stuff in the Bible I could relate to, and I seen some truths there, I didn't by any means believe it all. You know, there were things that I questioned and things that I thought were untrue and things that I had to test for myself. So, I mean,
can you give us an example?
Well, flat Earth is perfect.
Okay.
I mean,
the things you saw in the Bible that you had to test?
Yeah, lots of verses that alluded to the Earth, but well, not just alluded to, directly stated that the Earth was stationary.
Like it doesn't. I don't know this, but doesn't the Bible talk about the four corners? And that's one of the things that people reference as in
totally.
Yeah,
totally.
a sphere can't have corners.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. But yeah, and I myself am not sure about four corners. I mean, you know, like I said, I don't know everything, but and like I said, I questioned the Bible. So I thought I could prove it wrong, you know, and I thought if I could prove something wrong in the Bible, then, you know, that proved to me that wasn't absolutely reliable, you know. So, and that's the journey I headed down. I mean, when Joshua said, "Sun, stand still," I mean, wouldn't you say Earth stand still if it was a heliocentric model to make the day longer? I mean, you know, that was one thing that occurred to me.
So how do you think about, like, because Maui also stopped the sun?
Yes, dead right.
So does that relate somehow as well? Is that like a coincidence that you believe the Bible version and then so obviously that happened on the other side of the world, they have a different reason
not at
for
all,
it? Or?
Not at all. I think that confirms a common memory among cultures. I mean, if you look at flood legends, they're almost in every culture. And so it's, to me, this is just a common memory. I mean, different cultures have explained it their own way. I mean, Maui, and you're right, Mārie and Joshua are over in Israel, but essentially that's the same thing. So, I mean, I did classical studies in the 7th form, you know, ancient Rome, ancient Greece, and all the gods in there. And if you look around, even most cultures, in fact, almost all have legends of superhuman entities and giants. So I looked at all these different legends and picked out what they have in common. And most of those things that they have in common are also in the Bible narrative. So, you know, to me, that just, I can't believe that they colluded along, apart thousands of miles and they kind of come up and colluded together, let's write our own story. I mean, to me, this is a common human memory that goes right back. So
just so I'm clear, when you're saying it's a common human memory, it's the same memory described different ways amongst different cultures. Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
So, for example, you mentioned the flood. So you're talking about, in the Christian world, they talk about Noah's flood. In a different culture,
Chinese, they call them Nu. You know, I mean, there's different names, slightly different names.
But you're saying that it would have been, in your opinion, the same flood, defined and described by different cultures.
Definitely, they're describing the same event.
Okay, all right. So you've said that your journey into the Bible got you to want to test some things in the Bible, and one of the things you wanted to test because of that is the Earth flat?
Well, yeah, definitely. I wanted to find out more.
Right.
And once I Googled it, I realised there was actually quite a movement that were tending towards a flat Earth.
And on that, because you've been, I mean, as high profile as someone can be from this, you've been quite high profile in this world in New Zealand. You've been on like news channels, and I think, was there a spin-off article that you were in the other day with Toby, I forget his surname, talking to you? There was someone called Dion who he was talking to from Flat Earth.
I haven't even seen that. Sorry.
Okay, but it seems that you're around a fair bit.
Yeah, I mean, we had a Flat Earth conference earlier this year.
Yeah,
May, and I think from memory it was a CE channel, an online channel. It was a TVNZ channel.
Right.
And a young lady, Anna, I forget her last name, interviewed me there with a couple of others that were there. And I think that got quite a few views. Yeah, but I'm not aware of anything else.
Well, but just talking about, there's quite a movement. Your Facebook page is the biggest Flat Earth Facebook page in the country, and just remind me and tell everybody else who doesn't know this, the trajectory of numbers that there's been over the last kind of 18 months, 2 years.
Okay, so when I come to realise...
Because you started the channel?
Yes, definitely. Okay. When I come to realise Flat Earth was something I couldn't deny, it wasn't a matter of believing it. I tested it myself, and it was a matter of not being able to deny it anymore. Mm-hmm. Big difference, It wasn't something I went out to believe specifically. There was not many people to talk about it. I felt quite isolated, to the point I thought, well, geez, am I going nuts? It's not your typical subject, and it's totally left field. And you're right, most people would look at you like, man,
you're bonkers.
Yeah, totally out there, nuts. So I wanted to talk to people about it. I think at that stage there was one other guy who's now a friend of mine, and Facebook friend anyway, and he had his own page.
Okay.
And so I says, hey, let's start up a group, where we can actually converse and communicate. And he basically said, hey, look, if you're interested, just go for it. Do it. Just do it. So, yeah, I started that in September 2016.
So just over 2 years ago.
Yep. And I think in the first year we had something like 270, maybe 280 members. A year later, this year, September, we had just under 1,500 on the year anniversary. Yeah.
So that's significant. And I noticed today, because I was looking around some other pages, there's international Flat Earth pages that have 300,000 members to them, 70,000, 50,000, 200,000. So I guess assuming they're all interested in the Flat Earth, because I know your Facebook page basically says we don't debate. If you're genuinely interested to come in, talk about what we believe, we'll do that. But you're not interested in having people who don't agree with the Flat Earth, who are trolling. You don't want trolls.
No, there's plenty of Flat Earth groups out there that allow that, and we did for a start. But I mean, the members that did believe in Flat Earth got tired and sick of it. Because people were coming in trolling and the rest of it, and we thought, well, hey, look, we've heard these questions a million times, and we're not going to explain them a million times.
So that means, do you expect that the majority, like a very, very high percent of your 1,500 members, are basically Flat Earth believers or seekers?
Yes, or a certain proportion. I think the large proportion are definitely believers.
Yeah.
Right? I think that there is a proportion there that is curious.
Yeah.
Politely curious.
Yeah.
And we accept that. Hey, if you're going to have some respect for what we do believe and not just troll us for the sake of trolling, then you can sit there as long as you want.
And then there's people like me.
Hey, we have no problems with Globers coming in and sitting there as long as they're polite and friendly.
Globers, is that our term? My Glober. I heard Globetard the other day. Is it Glober, is it?
Yeah, I mean, some people are more passionate about the belief in Flat Earth than I am. I mean, I'm not going to call names of that. I mean, I had done, but I'm of the opinion, these people are just, they don't know, See, I don't think I believe, I think I know.
Right.
I mean, there's one litmus test for me, and that's the curvature, Show me the curve. I mean, when people do curvature tests, I mean, there's not one curvature that has physical curvature test, using the measurements that science gives us, of course, that has actually proved the curve. I mean, all these tests prove without doubt. That's how a lot of people actually come to Flat Earth, because they think, okay, I'll go out, the measurements are simple. I can do the experiment myself. It's not hard. All you need is a good zoom lens or a good pair of binoculars, and you can measure it for yourself, what science gives us. And you see, this is why I kind of am reluctant to even say that I am a flat earther, so to speak, because, I mean, the ball could be a lot bigger than what they tell us, and then it would be a lot harder to find the curve with these measurements. But we have to be able to measure it somehow. So we go by what science gives us. And by the measurements that science gives us, we can't find their curve.
So let's just, sounds like we're going to get into this conversation now about the questions and evidence and, that kind of thing. Let's say, sort of to make it fair for you, if we were going to be talking to a person, let's say we were going to wanted to talk to an Australian, and I had an Australian sitting across from me, it wouldn't be fair that person represents all views of Australia.
Fair enough, yeah.
Right,
yep,
so
definitely. And I definitely don't represent the entire Flat Earth movement.
And that's what I want to say. I want to say you have...
I speak for myself.
You speak for yourself, and you have an understanding that's yours. Some things you say you know. some things you don't know and some things you're unsure of. But you have said to me, and I'm sure this is still the same, that you understand the general principle that most flat earthers believe. So, for example, you said to me at one stage you weren't sure about the ice wall. Is that still your position?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
so let's say this.
I mean, I understand the principle.
Okay.
I think it's possible.
So let's say this. There is a very commonly held belief that if the earth is flat, how does the water stay in place? And that many flat earthers believe that what actually Antarctica is an ice ring around the outside of the wall. And how it's often shown in cartoons, animations, is imagine a pizza. The pizza is the earth with the water in it, and there's an ice wall all the way around the outside.
Totally understand. I think it was Auguste Piccard, the Frenchman, that went up in the ball and looked down on the earth for a start, who said it looked like a pizza with upturned edges.
Sure.
You know.
So you won't say, yes, I know or believe that, but we can still talk about that because you understand the principles of it.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
And there's going to be other things through there that you're going to go, I don't know, or I don't have an opinion on that, or this is what some believe, but I may
Totally.
not. So we're not putting you out there as the absolute
Yeah,
guru
definitely.
of it.
I mean, I do speak for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what I say is definitely not what all flat earthers believe. And even when I did the interview with Anna at CE, she did, put in the actual video clip that, most flat earthers believe in the ice wall, and I don't. I mean, I thought, well, gee, people might believe that I believe that because it's simply in the same article, but. I
so
think, I
you
think
not
it's very,
believe it, or do you not know?
I think it's highly possible.
Yeah.
But look, I'm not going to say something is definite without going down there myself and seeing it for myself.
So before we even get into the kind of toing and froing, because I guess you say I say I believe.
I just want to say, before we go any further, I just want to say, you said that how does the water, and I understand that, stay in if there's no ice wall.
Yeah.
Right? No, I get that.
Yeah.
But it's a bit like saying to someone who believes in the heliocentric model, how does a ball spin around a sun and stay there, and how does that work without falling down? I mean, there's gravity on Earth, but how does that all work? There's this, these magical forces. And all I want to say is that, look, we don't know everything.
Yeah.
None of us know absolutely everything, and we can try and I guess give support to any theory as. And we only need to believe part of the theory to think, I'm automatically going to believe the principles that hold up the rest of it, I guess. Sure.
And what I was going to say was, you say like the things that you know. I probably say I believe. I haven't seen the Earth from space. I haven't...
There's only one thing I do know.
Yeah.
And that's with the measurements that science gives us.
Yeah.
Their curvature for the ball, or their measurements for the ball, according to their measurements, I cannot find the curve. And I've done numerous tests, and so have many other people. And there is no one yet that has proved that those measurements hold true to that curvature.
Okay, so I'm going to jot this down because I don't want to get us lost.
Yep.
I'm going to jot down prove curve and come back to that, because one of the biggest questions for this whole thing, and this is what I see when I look online, you say, well, not you, but the person in your seat says you can't prove it, and then there'll be a debunking video that says, here's me proving it, and then there'll be someone who says, well, that's wrong, you're not proving it, and that to me is a pointless conversation.
Totally. I totally agree with you.
I want to come back to it, but the biggest question for me is why?
My mission is to actually look. I had a P900, which has got
camera, the big zoom. Yep.
And now I've got a P1000. And my mission this summer is to actually film a curvature test in New Zealand. I need the ideal conditions, and I want to do it down south somewhere. I've got the perfect area to do it in, and I want to film it for the people that say, they go, okay, you've done curvatures, where are they? Because I've had that said to me by friends and
do
a lot of
you
other people.
think your mind could be changed?
On the curvature issue?
Yeah. Do you think your mind could be changed to say that it is a heliocentric model? Because if the answer is no...
It would have to be some really good proof.
But if the answer is no, what's the point in doing a test?
It would have to be really good proof.
Because are you doing a test because you still want to know, or are you doing a test to prove that it's flat? Because they're two very different things.
The thing is, I've done tests and the same results have always happened. So I want to do it so it's on record. I've filmed it. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the only
So
reason.
it sounds like you really want to do it to prove the Earth is flat.
No, to prove what I say.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying it. Because this look at this. I mean, if you want to prove me wrong, go out and do it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, plenty of people are doing it around the world, and they're all coming up with the same results. So, like I said, you asked me the question, would you change your mind?
Yeah, could you? Could you have your mind changed?
Yeah, with some really good, solid proof. But I do think that if I'm going to have my mind changed, the measurements that we have at the moment given to us by science will not hold true. It'll have to be a hell of a big ball, in my mind.
Okay. So before we get, because I've got a few videos that I want to throw in there and get your opinion on and stuff as well. But so for people who are listening to this as an audio podcast, we'll try our best to describe what we're looking at when we look at some of those things, or jump onto YouTube or the Facebook page for Department of Conversation, and you'll be able to scramble through. How far through the thing are we, Jace? About half an hour in?
Yeah, we're at 30 minutes and
we'll tell you
40 seconds.
We'll tell you where we're in it if you're listening on the audio, so you can go and have a look. So my big question for this whole thing, because there appears to be out there arguments, you know, here's the evidence, that's not evidence, this is my evidence, that's not evidence, that's pointless. So my big question at the start is why? Why, for example, are people who know the earth is flat, and I'm thinking about people like NASA and that kind of stuff that seem to be the utmost evil in the world of flat earth, why are they keeping this secret? Why are they lying? What's the end game?
I guess they have, for the same reason that the guys that run the financial system, they have an agenda.
Which is?
Well, I think if you can have people believe a certain paradigm, where that they essentially are here by chance, it's all a fluke, then you can convince them that there is no purpose, that they have no purpose, that they are insignificant in the bigger scheme of things, I guess. So they're easy, a lot easier, your minds are more malleable. I mean, if you can believe that everything is by chance and pure fluke, then, hey, they can mould you to think just about anything they want.
I don't understand why, and I'm just going to use the phrase NASA as a colloquial for science and those people. Okay, just for now. I don't understand why NASA saying that the Earth is a globe means we're insignificant. What's the connection there?
It's not just that we're insignificant. I mean, it takes away, you know, it excludes a higher power, I guess, a creator sort.
Why?
You know? Well, because, evolution.
Yeah, but okay, let me come back.
Evolution, the Big Bang, and the flat Earth, and the globe, the heliocentrum, all work together. They knit together like a big patchwork quilt to put across or sell a certain paradigm. Yeah. And with that, I guess people believe that anything's possible out there in space with planets. You know, we can find another planet, or aliens can find us. The possibilities are just about endless. You know? So
are you suggesting a part of the plan, conspiracy, whatever the correct word is groups like NASA?
Well, NASA are financed, aren't they? They're put up to. Everything's compartmentalised, much like, I guess, government at certain levels. People are only on a need-to-know basis. So, there's very few people that actually know the bigger story and see across those compartments, I guess. So
I just want to be really clear with what we're saying. I really want my best to understand. That's what I'm going to do. So you have just connected NASA keeping the lie of a globe Earth going to basically mean they are actively trying to helping to hide the idea of a creator. Actively trying to hide the idea of creationism. I don't think
NASA are doing that. I think the people above NASA are doing that.
Okay.
I think there's people at NASA that genuinely believe that they could settle on another planet. Don't get me wrong. I think there's plenty of good people in NASA that are honest, hardworking people. Yeah. That accept what they've been told and always have. I was one of them. I was a globe believer too.
I guess one of the things that interests me in this, because I don't know if you know my background, but I've had a lot to do with the Christian world, right? I've worked for Christian radio stations. I've been involved a lot in that world. If what you were saying linked up with the majority view within the Christian world, I would understand. I'm not saying I necessarily still agree, but I understand it more. But I would say that if you lined up 100 people who called themselves Christians, who believed in the Bible, who had, a similar belief to you over what that book means, totally, 99 of them are still going to say that the Earth is a sphere.
Definitely, I think it's put it this way: the flat Earth Christians, and I mean the national ones that actually go to church, that have become flat Earth believers. I think they're a thorn in the side of most the average Christian, because I mean, let's face it, the average Christian believes what they're being told as well, and they accept what their pastor tells them.
But the point you were making is, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to be wrong, I don't want to misrepresent what you're saying. The point that you were making was that the reason that we want to stay away from a flat Earth, that maybe society does, was because they want to.
No, I mean I'm assuming here.
Yeah, sure. That's why I want to be clear on your opinion.
I'm not certain.
Sure.
But it appears that way to me.
Well, let's just flip it around and ask.
But that's only because of my personal beliefs.
Okay. So let's just flip it around and ask a direct question. Why do the majority of Christians, and I'm talking about Bible-believing, church-going Christians, why do the majority of them believe that it's a sphere, a globe?
For the same reason I did. Same reason you do.
Which is?
We were all educated. It was from day one. I mean, we've all got globes. We see universal pictures,
but that means those people who are in those churches like we're describing, they don't think that believing in a globe makes them insignificant. They believe that it's a globe.
Of course.
Yeah. So
no, this is my personal thought.
Right.
This is what I think. Yeah. I mean, of course they don't, but I mean, do they actually read the Bible for themselves, or are they just accepting the rote opinion of their pastor, or I don't know. I can't speak for other people. But there's a lot of I see more division in Christianity than just about any other religion.
And what do you think? Do you think they've got it wrong? Do you think that reflects on their faith at all? That about, like, can someone?
Not at all.
Doesn't it affect on their faith if they believe it's a globe?
I don't think it's a salvation issue.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people said that to me. So when I've said okay, I kind of believe the flat Earth thing.
Yeah.
They go, well, what does it matter? And it doesn't. So it's not going to change your everyday life. You've still got to go to work to earn money. I mean, it doesn't change how you're going to live your life. Okay.
So does that kind of mean if it was proven to you unequivocally that it was a globe, let's say you went up on a rocket and you saw it was a globe, it's not really going to change your day-to-day life?
Supposedly I can get high enough in a rocket.
But you know what I'm saying? If that did happen, hypothetically, it wouldn't change your day-to-day. Other than you probably wouldn't be a member of that Facebook page anymore. Other than that, it probably wouldn't change your day-to-day life.
Hey, look, I mean, it's like it's the same as me believing in the globe. Back when I believed in the globe, it didn't change anything. That I believed what I think is a lie, it doesn't change it. And now that I think I know the truth about the issue, still doesn't change my life.
Do you think it's important for those of us who believe in a globe to actually find the truth you're talking about, or do you think it really doesn't matter? The thing
that I think is important is once I realised there was a lie there, right? Because I do think it's a lie, personally. The question you've got to ask yourself is why? Why would they lie?
Absolutely, and that's the question I asked at the start of this, but why?
Yeah.
To what end is it a good thing that whoever knows the truth is keeping it a secret? Why? That's the question.
And you know what? When it comes down to it, to me it doesn't really matter why. The fact is, some people at the top of the chain there, because they're the ones with the money, they're the ones financing everything, and that includes what we teach in schools, what science accepts and doesn't accept. They're the ones that are controlling it all, right? So why are they doing it? That's what I ask. What's their agenda, right?
But that means it does matter.
Well, I guess you have to start studying these people that do live in and reside at that apex where things are financed and they make the decisions, they control the agendas. I guess you have to look at them and see what type of people they are, because a lot of them are intergenerational. Their father and their fathers and their fathers have been there for a long time. And we've all heard the catchphrase New World Order. I mean, it seems to be everywhere, and that goes back a long time, when you look into that. So I guess that what is New World Order? When you think about it, it's their world order. So what do they want? They want the countries to lose sovereignty, so we're all kind of one world, and then what? What happens then? What? Well, I've heard it alluded to that they want to chip up people and have a financial system. What is that? That's absolute control, isn't it? When you get to that level, with mankind is at that kind of stage in their progression where We never had the technology to control every individual in the world like that, but now we do. Now we absolutely do. The first time ever. I mean, this is a fascinating time for mankind, and I think we're at a kind of a, I guess you could call it a Rubicon, if you like. You know, we're almost past the point of no return.
So I'm very much, when I'm talking with people, an examples guy. I mean, that's how I understand, right? Kind of a tangible. I'm a learner by doer, that kind of stuff.
Well, you said you're familiar with Christianity, mainstream Christianity.
Well, what I'm saying is, I was going to ask is, you say there's technology now that can absolutely control everybody. What do you mean? What's the example of a technology that can control everybody?
Well, let's just hypothetically say that the powers that be and governments cooperate across the board to say, right, we've had enough of terrorism. It doesn't matter whether it's Islamic, whether it's people that just simply disagree with the government.
Sure.
And you can chuck communism and capitalism right out the window, because I mean they're the two wings of the same bird, in my opinion. I mean, fascism and communism, there's not much difference between the two at their extremes, in my view. So when you get that kind of the populace believing that kind of scenario, they're all the arseholes and we need to do something about it. Then when they come out with a solution, so to speak, and I guess, I am talking hypothetically here, but what would, I don't know if you've heard of the Hegelian dialectic.
No.
Thesis, antithesis, synthesis.
Right.
In other words, if you want a certain prevailing condition, or you want to do something and you need a certain prevailing condition to enable that, then you provide, that's your thesis, you want something, then you provide the antithesis. So there's war there, or there's turmoil, or there's conflict, and then you get the synthesis, which is your real goal. So you're setting up the situation to provide the outcome. Example.
So you're creating the war and you're providing the weapons.
I'm not saying this is true, all right?
Is that what you mean? Like, you're creating the war and then you're providing the weapons for the war.
And then the real goal is the outcome, what happens after the war.
Right.
Okay? That's the outcome. So I'll give you a rough example, and I'm not saying this is true or anything. It's just I've heard it said to me a few times, and I've heard a few conspiracy theorists say it to me, and I'm sure you've probably heard it yourself. 911, for example. If you wanted the oil and you wanted the public to support you in invading oil-rich countries, then what do you need to get the public support? That's the synthesis that you want. So 911, bang, towers go down. We're at war. Let's get the terrorists. So now the government's got a mandate to do exactly what they want and get the oil with support. So that's the Hegelian dialectic. We want to get the oil. How do we get it? With public support, of course.
So the original question about this part of the conversation, and I understand what you're saying there, you said there was technology that could control everyone.
Yeah. So if you do that on a global scale...
But that's not technology, that's a pattern of behaviour to do something.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, what's the point in doing a pattern of behaviour? I mean, facilitating that, if you haven't got the technology to implement it. I mean, put it this way, if we had a nuclear war, for example, in the world, with, say, nations destroyed, then the whole modern day system breaks down. I mean, there's oil not flowing anymore, there's people that are... it brings the whole world to their knees. So, I mean, a world on its knees is a world that cries out for peace and order. All I'm saying is they can now do that. You don't even think about the cost of it because you're so distraught.
So the example you're giving there about technology controlling the world is not necessarily a chip that can go in everybody, but it's more like, I have nuclear weapons. If you don't do what I say, i.e. I'm controlling you, we will blow up your country.
No, because this is... I mean, that's just one... You're talking on one little micro scale there. I mean, they want it globally, They want the whole world to be that way. That's what I'm saying about this new world order. What is new world order? I mean... I think it's precisely what it says, new world order. But how do they effect it? How do they affect it?
Going back to the whole thing about the people above NASA are the ones that might be knowing the lie and actively squashing it. how many people need to be in on this lie? And I'm thinking, can we bring up that James May clip? Like I'm thinking, and I want to show a little clip now of James May when he went into one of those jets that's just at the stratosphere, and he doesn't. And I know one of the concerns around people looking at those is GoPros and curved things. He doesn't. He has a little handy cam because you see it. And he is a BBC presenter, not a scientist, not involved in that industry, not trying to squash stuff. Sees the curvature.
Yeah, I've seen lots of those. They're everywhere. It looks convincing too, doesn't it?
Oh, it's lovely. You get bored of looking at that, surely not.
So is he in on it?
No, he probably believes what he's seeing.
But what's he seeing?
Well, for a start, what is he in there? Is it a jet or some kind?
Yeah, it's one of those jets that they allege, I believe, but they allege can go to the whatever the stratosphere is, right on the edge of space.
And so would that be a curved canopy that he's looking at?
I've got no
Because
idea.
I can show you jets that can make that not only convex but concave, depending on where you're looking at it from what angle.
So you're saying that.
And fisheye lenses are used.
Well, this is not, because I know that's one of the common things. This is just his normal handycam, because you see it in one of the shots. It's just a little handycam. You're suggesting that he is up that high looking at a flat plane?
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's not curved?
No,
so
not in my opinion.
So
it looks curved, and I can agree. But But the canopy looks curved too. So
you're saying
even when you look at a passenger jet window, there's a slight curvature there because they have the windows curved to stop pressure cracking the windows at high altitudes. I mean,
so your explanation for that would be it does appear curved.
Yes,
because there is a curved canopy and it's distorting the view.
Totally. Like I said, I can show you videos where it looks convex.
This is the thing, and this is this whole when people go backwards and forwards with my
totally.
When people show those sorts of things as evidence, your response is it's fake, it's not real. There's a reason for that. It's the canopy.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. I believe there's a reason for that. Totally.
So you don't think James May's in on that?
Only because of the experiments I've done myself. That's what gives me the confidence to say that. I mean, if I hadn't tested the curvature here on Earth, down at ground level, then I'd be totally going out on a limb saying that I think that's.
So tell me what your experiment is. It'd be good to know what that is.
It's basically There's measurements for how the curvature drops off. I mean, Pythagorean theorem around a circle, you can go out and you can measure the curvature, basically, get a formula for the curvature, right? Now, these are published everywhere, and they're all the same, of course, because it's the same mass. And you can go out and test it over a certain distance. And the larger the distance, the more the curvature drops off, right? And well, let's just forget about filming things.
So
right?
Specifically, what was your experiment, though?
Okay, so I was looking across the beach at Stewart Island, right? Which was about, well, I measured it on Google, and not that I trust Google anymore, but I mean, it was 30 odd K, and I know that from experience, right?
Yeah.
Over 35K. And the drop off was, if it's 35 to 39, anything from 70 to 90 metres drop off, right? So anything below 70 metres, right? You shouldn't be able to see. Okay. And then when you can see things that are obviously not, 70 metres in height, then the penny drops, and a lot lower. I mean, you can account for margin of errors in that.
And refraction?
Yeah, well, I mean, what refraction? I mean, I'm aware of refraction, but as far as a flat Earth goes, I mean, I've seen pylons across a lake, I think it was Ponttrain, and it appeared to have a curve, right?
Yeah.
But then there's pictures taken at different angles where it's straight. And then there was one guy who said, okay, there's the curvature there. And then he put Lego bricks on a table, right? And filmed them down at the same kind of level.
I've seen that clip.
And they appear to be curved too. So, I mean, I'm not denying refraction, right? But what I'm saying is you have to actually distinguish between what is actually refraction and what is, perspective and how that can cause it to look like it curves, and refraction as well. So I mean, the thing about perspective for the human eye, I mean, the human eye can fool you too at times.
But perspective is irrelevant if you've got lenses. I mean, something can be 1,000 miles away.
Depending on what lens it is, of course.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if you've got a lens...
Yeah, but if it's fisheye, I mean, and it's distorting things straight away.
But you don't zoom with a fisheye. I mean, you don't zoom 5 miles out with a fisheye. So what I'm saying is, because correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not saying this is your belief, because we've already said that you may not have all the same agreements, but some people think...
And there's some things I don't know. Yeah. There are some things I just simply don't know.
Some people think within the flat earth world that things don't go over the horizon. They basically get smaller because of perspective. And then you can't see them anymore with the human eye.
There's a limit to human perspective.
But a zoom lens cancels that out.
Yeah.
So that can be easily tested.
Yes.
In other words, if something was to go over if something with a massive lens wasn't to be seen
But I mean, there is a
anymore,
limit to lenses as well. I mean, you've got atmospheric distortion. You've got, if your atmosphere isn't as clear, I mean, you're only going to be limited in your distance. I mean, that's why to do a good curvature test. I think the world record for long distance photography is 273 miles. And in that photo, you can see mountains that, if the curvature held true, the mathematical curvature, you shouldn't be able to see. I mean, and there's plenty of photos out there that people have taken in that regard that prove the curvature absolutely wrong. And I just want to state that you don't need a curve lens. I mean, common sense would dictate that the higher you go, if the ball is the actual size they tell us it is, then the curvature should actually start to drop. Like if you imagine on a tennis ball and you get higher, then the horizon should start dropping at some stage. But we always find that the horizon rises to eye level, which implies that there's no curve there. There's no discernible curve, at least.
When you say rises to eye level, what do you mean?
Well, on a flat, when things are flat, the higher you go, if it's truly flat, it'll still look flat, and the horizon will not drop off. If you look at guys on Everest that take pictures, the horizon goes so far out, you can see more, of course, but the horizon's still at that eye level. If you're on a ball, just think about it logically. If you're on a soccer ball or small, and the higher you go, the horizon in front of you should drop off. The higher you go, and you should see the curvature going up. You understand?
I sort of do. So you're saying that if I go up in a plane, that the horizon's going to be at my eye level?
Yes, because you will see more. Yes, it is. You can see the horizon out the window, can't you?
But it's not at my... Okay,
the horizon doesn't disappear, does it?
Well, no, of course not. But it wouldn't disappear on a tennis ball either. It would still be a horizon.
Well, it would. It would just go down there, and you'd have to geez, look way down there.
Yeah, but if you were in the alleged ISS, then it would. Not if you were 30,000 feet. And look, let me say, because I think when we met for the first time, you said that to me. So the last time I was on a plane, I went, I'm going to check this. So I sat up really straight, and I'm 6'3", so I'm pretty tall. My eye level was at the top of the window in the plane.
Yeah, but you look at the horizon now. That's pretty much at eye level, isn't it?
No.
What would you say it is?
My eye is here. My eye level is about where the top of that pole is. That's where my eye is right now, and the horizon is below it. And listen, I'll say, let me finish my point.
Okay, I'm not saying
but you've said
physically eye level.
But that's what you've said.
Look, I'm looking there, bang, and I can see right to the horizon. It's not dropping off. It's right. I'd say it's at eye level. I mean, I don't have to lift my head up. I don't have to look down. It's straight ahead.
So let me explain this again, the plane thing. So I sit up straight, right? And because of the height I am, my eye level is the very top of the oval windows. And the horizon is down through the windows. It's not at my eye level.
Geez, I've never had to look down to see the horizon. Like here, I'm not looking down. I'm looking straight ahead.
But that's because of how our eyes work. I mean, I can see down that corner down there as well without looking down there. But eye level to me means...
No, I mean straight ahead. Look, I'm not tilting my head. I'm not lifting my head. I'm just looking straight ahead.
So if we go back to that example you gave of a tennis ball,
yeah,
right? And I'm standing on a tennis ball.
Yeah.
And I cut that tennis ball off, right? So that's all that I can see, right? That means everywhere I see around me on that tennis ball is flat, even though we know the ball is curved. So we should see a flat and level horizon. You shouldn't see a curved horizon. So you think
Just
about...
like, I mean, if it is a ball all the way around, then, you know, when I look out to the horizon on the ocean or anything, you know, I still just see it flat.
Yeah, but it should. That's what I've just said. If you think about standing on top of that ball and you cut the slice off to where you can see...
we aren't cutting any ball off. We aren't cutting anything off.
Yeah, but all you can see is the flat around you. You think standing on top of that ball, you see a line around you which is flat, even though the ball is curved underneath that line.
Totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, okay.
But we should still be able to pick up some form of curvature. In my mind, we should, especially if you go high. If you're going up to a mountain, I mean, especially in a plane, I mean, you should literally be able to see, according to the measurements that they give us, the curvature drop off.
Well, that's where this conversation, I've got no sort of opinion because I don't know the science and I haven't done the experiments.
Let's get into that, you see, because what I find amazing, the thing that really got to me is, you know, going into this flat Earth journey and learning about not only flat Earth, I learned more about what I actually did believe as far as the globe model was concerned, you know. And when I actually seen what they were telling me that I believed, that I never questioned before because I just accepted it without thinking and without questioning it.
Yeah.
It was like the velocities involved, you know, we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour at the equator and the sun is going, I mean, the Earth is travelling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour while the whole solar system is moving through the Milky Way galaxy at I think it's 490,000 miles an hour. Now, if you think of the whole solar system moving through the Milky Way at 490,000 miles an hour, so how far do we travel in a year, I guess? God knows. But
a lot.
The stars don't change. The stars keep on going around the same as they've always had, the constellations, and we're travelling forward while the Milky Way galaxy is travelling itself at over 1 million miles an hour. I mean, you know, when I realised that this is what science is telling us, I was like, hell, geez.
Just because
that's something I don't experience, can't observe.
Okay, so just because someone, and I don't mean this with any disrespect to you, it's a broader statement, just because someone doesn't understand something doesn't necessarily mean it's not true. But I would say that just because someone doesn't understand it doesn't necessarily mean it's not true.
It just doesn't make sense.
Why does it not make sense?
Well, if the solar system's travelling through the Milky Way at 490,000 miles an hour, okay? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know these numbers, by the way, so I'm just saying.
This
is what science tells us. Okay. So I don't even want to do the math about how far we would travel in a year, because that's just in an hour. Yep. Shouldn't the stars at least change over the centuries, over the thousands of years? In my mind, they should. They shouldn't be going around, appearing to be going around the Earth the same as they always have.
Okay, so let's do this.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Let's do this. Let's Google that question, because you said something really interesting, and I respect that you've said it. You've said, in my mind. That means that's your opinion. What if science explains it to you?
You tell me how it works in your mind.
I don't have a clue, but I'm honest about that. But there will be, and this is the other thing that I found interesting since my deep dive. Mm-hmm. The other thing I found interesting is there's often people saying there's no evidence of X, Y, Z. And a Google search will bring up evidence of X, Y, Z. So then the
apparent evidence,
but then people will say, "Well, I just don't believe that evidence," and that then gets.
Well, is it evidence? Because we have to analyse the evidence and
well, let me ask you this,
and ask whether that evidence is in fact truth. I mean,
are you giving us? Jace will do the reading on the whole star thing, and he'll give us a synopsis. Are you of the opinion that many in the flat Earth world are, which is about space, what doesn't exist, or there's no satellites, or all that kind of stuff? Is that your personal belief?
I think the satellites, but I think they're all high altitude balloons, and hey, I mean, science is pretty good these days, and so is technology. We can do a lot of things. Some things people aren't even aware of, but
so satellites are all balloons.
I believe so. They're put up there by balloons, yeah, pretty much.
And do they actually do anything?
I don't think the ISS is. I think it's fake.
Do they do anything? Do the satellites do anything, or are they? For
I'm pretty sure they probably do. You know,
so there could be communications,
sensors, or some sort of stuff.
Okay,
yeah.
so you're of the opinion that there's something up there, but it's not the model that we've been told. It's not on a rocket going to
pretty much
outer space, etc., etc., etc.
Yep.
So you don't believe in the International Space Station?
No.
So what is that in your opinion?
Fakery.
To what end?
Well, I mean, what do you think of the International Space Station? What do you think?
Well, I think it's the International Space Station in space orbiting a globe.
And do you believe Russians and American astronauts and up there are all friends, kind of on the International Space Station, like they show us?
I don't know if they'd be friends, but
Well, they appear to be friends.
Well, colleagues, people who work together. I'm not friends with every person I work with. I'm sure you're not either. But colleagues, people who work together, people who...
And you believe in zero gravity and all that kind of stuff like that?
Well, as I said, I do, because it's what I've always been told, and I haven't seen anything or experienced anything myself. Maybe this is it. Maybe I haven't seen the contrary to a position that's convinced me. Now, could I be convinced of the other, of the flat earth and of what you're talking about? Possibly, if I saw the evidence as well.
There's plenty of videos there that you know, where they make mistakes with the wires and
well, let's have a look
the
at one
bubbles coming up.
Let's have a look at one that I've grabbed. Okay, of the ISS, and the videos on YouTube. People can look at it themselves. It's called something like how the ISS works or functions.
Totally.
Can you grab that one up, Jace? Because I'm interested to see what you think it is. So this is
Look
a
at
woman.
that here. Look at that here.
But the thing that's interesting
it's
to
not even
me,
moving. It's like rock hard.
the thing that's interesting to me is, for example, the water. Right? Water. There's a bubble of water floating right there.
Yeah.
She's putting water on her tooth.
That happens when you're
brush.
in water. Yeah, if you've got a bubble of air.
But how can she be in water? She's talking to us and she's got no breathing apparatus. There's a bubble of water there coming out of her thing. She's got water on her toothbrush that's just sticking. Now I'm not
sure.
I actually
I'm not
don't.
sure, but
I
I'm
actually
just
don't
looking
want
at
to.
that here, right?
I actually don't want to. I
That
don't
hair's not even moving, man.
look at her necklace floating.
Yeah, they're probably in a zero-G environment. That doesn't mean they're in space.
So where
Look
would?
at that here, man.
Yeah, no. Well, it is actually moving if you look at the top back of it.
Like
So
it's kind of stuck up, but it's got slight movement in it.
well, what about her necklace, which is floating very obviously like that?
Oh yeah, they can do lots of things, man.
So I want to know. Like, this is not for me.
But I doubt. I mean, like just because they show you with a picture that appears to be like things are.
This is, by the way, I did some research on those zero-G planes.
By no means does that mean they're in space to me.
Okay,
I mean,
so but those zero-G planes that
and
they
even if
filmed.
they are in space, I mean, they could be at a level, lower Earth orbit or something like that. But
So are you saying that's not zero-G?
no, it appears zero-G to me.
So would you accept that is zero-G?
I'm just going to chime in. There's no such thing. I'm just going to chime in here, just the science brain. There's no such thing as zero-G. It's called microgravity.
Whatever.
It's called microgravity.
The science brain.
Microgravity, whatever. I mean,
So let's
gravity.
Let's just say, looking at that picture of her in a bathroom, there's no evidence that is in space. I agree with that because you can't see space.
Yeah, totally.
But do you think that she is in a lower volume gravity than the rest of us, and she is actually floating?
I couldn't tell you.
Just come in front of the microphone.
I simply wouldn't know. But I mean,
so when you
that's amusing and it's good entertainment.
But when you say there's no evidence, and I don't mean you, I mean the general thing. I look at that and I see that as evidence, and I'd like to understand why it's not.
But I mean, most people would think it's evidence. To me, it's just a picture that they're in some environment that's mimicking zero gravity. I mean, that's what it looks to me.
You would accept that wasn't underwater, though, eh? I mean, she was talking. There was no breathing apparatus.
I'm not sure. I couldn't say for certain.
What would you need to see to be convinced that the ISS is real?
I'd have to go up there.
So
Take me up there, man,
right,
and I'll believe you.
So it's coming back to your Bible verse. It's a bit of a Simon situation. Put my fingers in his hand and his sides, and I'll believe.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and why shouldn't I be skeptical?
Is that Simon? No, that's Thomas, wasn't it?
I mean, I've seen enough bullshit in the world to be very skeptical about most things, if you know what I mean.
What about, do you know the Himawari 8 weather satellite?
No.
Okay. Himawari 8 weather satellite, because one of the other common statements from the Flat Earth Society is that there are no, or maybe very few, like full images of Earth. They're all photoshopped, which is not what NASA says, because there are some full images. Of course,
that they
NASA
wouldn't say that.
So this is the Himawari 8 satellite. It's a real-time satellite from Japan showing the full Earth in one shot.
That's what they're telling you anyway.
And
where's the full Earth?
Well,
I see half.
That's because there's part in the night. It's the evening. This is at 8:10 this evening. The shot. You're going backwards. That's why. So and it shows the weather patterns for what's happening right there and then. You can literally look out your window and have the same clouds above you that they show on this.
You sure it's not going to be the same in 12 hours?
100%. I look at this all the time, all the time. Mostly because I'm interested.
With this flat Earth movement, right? People have been saying that, because they've done flyovers and. That's like, oh, hold on, those clouds were there at night, so people have been questioning things. So I'm sure they've got the sort of technology and the sort of models these days to go, well, what about this one? The clouds are moving on this one, and look, it looks like a whole Earth. There you are. Why can't we see that in real time? If they can go to the moon or they can get a satellite, why can't they show it in real time? As with Earth.
Well, the International Space Station.
I don't see it spinning. That's really getting to me, because
International Space Station is in real time.
So they say, well, why isn't it spinning then? Why isn't it moving?
It is.
Well, I can't see it spinning. It's 1,000 miles an hour, man. It's pretty fast.
It does. You can see it spinning in the background when they're working. It's a shame we didn't get
even
the
if
other
they
one.
showed me it spinning.
Wouldn't believe it?
No, well, hey, look, man, I've done some physical experiments. Show me the curve. I mean, not from space, not from some fake space pictures or so-called real space pictures.
In your opinion, Rocket Lab, these guys in New Zealand who have just started launching, what are they about? In your opinion, what do you think that's all about?
I think Beck was genuine. I mean, he's an Invercargill boy like me. I think he went out there with genuine curiosity, and good on him. He's succeeded in what he's done. One of the fascinating things I found...
hang on, pause. He succeeded in what he's done. What has he done?
Firing rockets up
into space.
Well, pretty high. One of the things that really occurred to me that I thought was amusing was and one of their first he called it one of their first successful launches was, and this was funny because I just happened to hear it on the radio, and it wasn't long after he called it a successful launch, and he said, wow, we've hit our target altitude and we went even further, but there's for some reason we can't work out why the rocket come to a complete stop. And that was the only time I heard it.
Do you mean up there when it was
just
flying?
come to a complete halt.
Did it hit the dome?
Well, I don't know. He said, I'm not going to assume, it said it can come to a complete halt. And then we never heard that again. That was I only heard on that radio thing once, that broadcast once, and it was never repeated again. But he did mention that. And
so people like him, people like Elon Musk, who
now NASA's involved. So
people like Elon Musk, people like Richard Branson, who are all looking as private individuals to do things in space.
Yeah, definitely.
Are they in on the lie, or are they kind of confused as to what's going on? Do they just not know yet?
Well, if it looks fake, it's got to be real, doesn't it? I mean, Musk makes statements like that about the apparent car that he put in space, the Tesla. I mean, I guess, at some level, that when you get to a certain level of finding out secrets for yourself or finding out some sort of truth yourself because you've done something amazing like fire a rocket up so high that no other, individual's been able to do, and then you say something like it came to a complete stop. I mean, if that was kind of letting out a secret by even saying that, it was like, whoa, this is curious. Why did it come to a complete stop? I mean, then at some stage the boys that are behind the agenda get involved, and as you see, NASA are involved now. They're involved with SpaceX.
So you think
SpaceX had a lot of malfunctions.
You think NASA's come in behind these private organisations and now kind of pulling the strings, sort of?
For sure,
something like that.
It's now half a US company, isn't it? Mostly US company.
I want to show you two videos, and look, you've got some stuff that you might want to show us as well. I don't want to keep you here forever, but there's two videos because they're real. They're not space videos. They're not, CGI. Well, maybe they will be. I don't know. Because you're talking about evidence and no one's ever seen the curve. There's two.
Look. I mean,
no. Let's just do this first.
They can show us lots of. Let
me do this first. Okay?
And they have done.
Okay, let me do this
It's pretty
first.
convincing stuff. Don't get me wrong.
We're going to bring up the sailboat going over the horizon. All right, because you said on my Facebook page to someone today, show me the evidence of the curve, and you'll be worth $1 million. Just this is a very short clip.
do a physical curvature test.
Okay, but so this is a very short thing. It's
not $1 million.
It's not perspective. Famous. You can see it's not getting smaller and going away. The boat is literally disappearing over the horizon. Well, when I say literally, that's the belief that I have from that. Can we just play it again, James? Because it's super quick. You can find this clip on YouTube yourself.
Yeah, I've seen lots of them before.
Sailboat going away. getting smaller. It's the sail now. You can't see the boat. It'll be half the sail, and then it's gone.
Yeah. And you're going to ask me, well, why does the bottom disappear before the top?
Well, I'm just going to say in a flat Earth model, how does one? And I'm not challenging you. I just want to understand how does one explain that?
You can explain it. I can't even remember it now because I don't get into that stuff too much. But plenty of people explained it. I can't even remember the reason now. But it's all to do with perspective.
But it's not perspective because it doesn't get smaller.
Well, you actually have to research.
Just come back in front of the mic, bro.
Just research perspective, and you'll find it for yourself. Look, I'm not here to convince anybody. I don't want to.
Sure.
It's not my job. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm quite certain this curvature doesn't exist, and that's all that matters to me. I mean, if people are genuinely curious and they think a picture like that proves to them that there's curvature, and they're not going to investigate it further.
Why does it not prove it to you?
And they're not going to invest because I've seen the reasoning behind it. I just can't remember the exact.
Okay, I want to show you one more, and then you're going to show us some stuff as well.
If people are happy to be convinced because they see a video, that in their mind appears to convince them of curvature, and they're not going to investigate it any further, then that's it. I mean, if they're happy with that, right? Because I actually question that too. Now, I can't remember the exact reason, but there's plenty of videos on there that'll explain
I do want to show you one more.
And it's basic science too. It's not...
Because this is the one for me.
I can't remember everything about the flat Earth.
This is the one for me that kind of, in my mind, finishes the conversation a bit. For me, right? Not for you, not for anyone else. I'm not trying to convince anyone as well. No, not finish us. I want to see your videos. So this was a Discovery Channel experiment where they flew a helicopter on the other side of a very long lake. And these were actually flat Earth people, okay? And we're just going to watch it. We'll let it play through.
Who was this?
Let's have some volume on this. And he is watching with the telescope. The helicopter on the other side of a lake.
Go ahead and land.
There's no perspective here because it just goes down. And as you can see, as it goes down, the helicopter goes below the level of the water.
As it lands, it completely disappears from my line of sight. Joey, are you still airborne?
And we'll just watch a bit more of it.
Yeah.
Because then it takes off again.
See us landing?
The reports from the helicopter, they're still flying. But I can't see it. To wrap your head around it in that short a time was a little difficult for me. I was like, this is crazy.
We have landed in our position.
For people who are listening,
what's the distance? Do you know?
So we'll have a look. We'll have a look. So now the helicopter is taking off from the shore of the other side of the lake. Turn it back up a bit.
Let me know when you can see us on spots of the horizon.
Can't be seen. So they're taking off. They're flying at the moment. He can't see them. He sees them now.
I got him.
And then they ask how high it is.
Okay, what's your elevation right now?
All right, Brian, how many feet are we above the lake?
24 feet.
Woo! We made it!
So
It doesn't mean anything to me.
okay, so my question to you is, if we did that, you and I did this experiment, and the helicopter disappeared like that, would that be enough for you to know that the Earth is not flat?
No.
Really?
Not at all. No. There's bound to be a reason behind it.
So you can't be convinced?
No, I mean that doesn't even look right. I mean, if he's really at low level, water level, I know in my experience that water finds its own level, and it's always level. Water doesn't curve around the outside of a ball.
But and I'm going to say evidence, but I'll say what they're putting out there.
What they've showed you.
What they're showing shows that there
apparently
is, on the other side of the lake, there is about a 24-foot drop between
I don't know that.
sides.
That's, I mean, they're going up at one stage. They're showing, I mean, I'm not seeing the thing in one picture. I'm seeing him, then I'm seeing this.
So this is, now we're getting into that point where we're going, I see that.
No, I just doubt the authenticity of that.
Okay. Look, I've got no challenge for you. I'm just interested in what you say. Now, is there anything you want to show us or let us know about before we kind of wrap up for the night?
As I said, to me, it's all about the curvature, right?
Yep.
Measuring physical curvature.
Yep.
I mean, you can show me pictures of anything that appear to be like, oh, that's what he's seeing at this time, but I don't know that. That's what you just show. It's always flipping from him to the next person. So this is all, you can do amazing things with video. You can do amazing things with cameras.
So you don't trust that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, not based on what I've physically tested.
Okay.
Should I trust it? Should I trust everything I see on a video?
I trust that. I trust that.
Why?
Mostly because well, I guess
Because they appear serious? They appear...
No. I guess mostly because my predisposition is to believe we're on a globe. That's the first reason I trust it. And the second
there's
thing,
bias there is some sort.
Yes.
Like there's bias for me not believing. I guess you're going to
completely.
say.
Yes, no. And the second thing is I watch the whole program, and they are people who are flat.
It doesn't make sense to
flat
me. If
earthers.
I know that water finds its own level, right? So if he is down at kind of the water level, right? How can you go below the water? That distance, they didn't even show any distance.
No, they did. They did. They showed it at the start. I can't show you a full 58-minute television program, but they did have the measurements for what the distance across the thing was. I can't remember.
Anything that's filmed with cameras, because you always can go flip from one camera to one camera.
Can I say this? Let me say this. It's a common thing that flat earthers say, that water always finds its own level. Now, if the Earth is a globe and there's gravity, then that statement is inaccurate. If the Earth is flat...
What's gravity?
Well, it's the mass in the centre of the Earth drawing, I don't know the exact details, but drawing it in. And I don't want to get into a conversation because you guys, but typically don't believe in gravity sort of thing.
Well, I find it hard to believe. They say it's a constant force, yet, you know, how is it constant when it acts differently on different things?
Well,
you know?
I don't want to get into the science behind it, but what I'm saying is, if the Earth is a globe, and if there is gravity, and I'm not trying to convince you of that, then the water can curve around surfaces. If it's not,
no, I
then
mean,
it can't.
I doubt that too. I mean, just because you put some magical force into it, that doesn't convince me that water can curve around a.
If that video was true and accurate and real and not doctored, and you don't believe it is, but if it was, then that would show that water has a curve to it. Would you agree with that?
No.
Even if it's true and real and accurate.
I don't think it is true, and you won't
but
convince me it is.
I'm not. But I said really clearly, I'm not trying to convince you. Like I'm saying, if that was true and accurate, and if that was you in the boat and someone else on the thing, and if the helicopter went below the level of the water, then what that would mean, I think by definition, is that water can curve. Now, I'm not saying it does, and I'm not challenging you to believe it does. I'm saying if that was accurate,
yes, that would be magic. and that's what gravity is to me. It's magic, this magical force.
So look, I was going to say to you, if that would convince you, I'll get a helicopter and we'll do it.
I mean, if they can mimic gravity, like they can mimic no gravity, I guess, then show us how gravity would work in a real life experiment with a ball spinning, really fast, and water sticking to that ball. Show us in an experiment. Why can't they do that? I mean, if gravity's a constant force. Why can't they mimic this constant force with a high-powered magnet?
Because the Earth is not a ball spinning.
No, it's an oblate spheroid.
No, but what I'm saying is it's not a basketball.
I mean, that's the thing that really gets to me. You have Neil deGrasse Tyson going, it's an oblate spheroid. You saw all the pictures from NASA are perfect spheres. I mean, and, they can't even make up their own mind. And then they're going, it's a bit pushed in and it's flatter at the ends, but yet all the pictures are perfect spheres.
It seems to me that maybe there's nothing that could convince you. Like if you were sitting in that helicopter and we had another one of your colleagues who was a flat earther on the other side, hang on, let me finish, on the other side of the lake, and it did that, you still wouldn't be convinced.
No, I could be convinced if I saw it with my own eyes, right?
Well, that's what I said. If we did that experiment.
But I don't think I'm going to. I just don't think... I think it's impossible.
So me organising that would be a waste of my time and money is what you're saying?
I think go for it.
No, I'm talking about for you.
No, go for it. If you could convince me and you can do that, go for it.
But
I'll come along.
But you're saying if we did that, it wouldn't convince you.
Well, if I could see it with my own eyes, the distances and everything concerned.
I've already done it. I've figured out kind of from Long Bay up to Karatane. There's a good stretch of water there that it could be done on. And I was saying, if doing that could convince you, I would try and organise a helicopter and do it. But you've already said, nah. I'm like, well, I'm not going to bother doing it.
If I could see it with my own eyes, I mean, I might be convinced. But no, at the moment, I think that's impossible. I think that's bullshit, to be honest. But
okay, well, let's say this. People who, and I've already spoken...
I mean, people think that what I say is bullshit, and that's fair enough, fair cool, right? But I know what I've measured as far as I've tested.
Sure.
And that's what convinces me, okay? And
Sure.
I've never seen water stick to a spinning ball,
It's the- you
even
know,
in an experimental kind of...
I don't want to be flippant about this because it's not a good example, but water does stick to balls on the earth that we're on right now. If you go to the ball in the front of Te Papa, there's that big sculpture.
Not right round the ball.
It does. Goes all the way down to the bottom of it. Absolutely no question. I've done it. I've looked at it
And
after
it's spinning
we
really
met.
fast. And
No,
it-
it's not spinning fast. It's spinning really slow, like the Earth is. Proportionally to its size, it's spinning slowly.
Not really. I mean, the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference, they tell us, right? And it's spinning just
Miles.
over 1,000 miles an hour, right? So, you know, it's reasonably fast.
Proportionally, it spins quite slowly. And that's one of the things I've seen with some of the experiment from flat earthers online is they get stuff and they, like a guy who had a gate and he was trying to figure it out and he moved the gate really quickly. And it's like, that's not how the earth moves. Like I'm telling you, I didn't want to use this.
Literally, it takes a day to do one spin.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25,000
So in other words, the
an hour.
equivalent of your basketball is not spinning it on your finger. It's taking a day for it to spin all the way around. That's the equivalent
No.
speed.
I'm talking about fast as far as here on what we think is fast. 1,000 miles an hour, ground level here.
I get
It's
it.
pretty damn fast.
I get it. But
it's almost the speed of sound.
I
is it
don't
not?
think this is a good example of mine, which I wasn't going to say. But after we met, I looked at that sculpture in the front of Te Papa, which is a massive granite ball with water coming from the top around it, spinning very slowly.
Coming
And
from where?
It comes up the top. There's like a hole on top in the middle. So it comes up and it goes down around the outside of the ball and it goes around all the way to the bottom of the
I've
ball.
seen things like that.
So it
I mean,
does.
I've seen
hang on.
things like
But
that.
we just said that. You just said that it can't stick to the bottom side of a ball. It does. In that exact example, there are lots of water features that it does that for.
Yeah, I mean, but come on, that's like the actual kind of force around the ball. Where else is it going to go? Because you're coming up down.
What would that force
Where
be
is-
called?
It's actually just bloody. See, I don't call it gravity. I call it like natural bloody buoyancy and distance. When you shoot water up the middle of something, where else is it going to go? It's going to go around something.
The water doesn't actually go up the middle. It's suspended by the water. The water is actually only on the bottom. It doesn't shoot up the middle. It doesn't come out
So
the top
it's
like a phantom.
shot up from bottom around the ball, is it?
I had video of one of the ones.
I mean,
I
if you
didn't
put
bring
a
along.
ball in the middle of a hose and fire a hose, right? A high pressure hose at a ball. I mean, directly at it. Where else is it going to go?
Do you have
But I mean,
anything?
that's totally different than saying that the oceans, which are, you know, in some parts, 70%, I guess, automatically stick into a spinning ball. I mean, it's a totally different scenario you're talking about.
I agree. That's why I wasn't going to use that as an example. But the statement that the water won't stick around to the underside of a ball sort of thing is not true. It does. It can.
Well, it's not sticking because
Well,
you're constantly
whatever word we
spraying
use.
it. I mean, it's got nowhere else to go.
Whatever we use.
You're directly firing it at a ball.
We've been going for an hour and a half. I've loved this chat. It's been great fun. But I do want to give you all the time you want to to share stuff. I've done some of my videos. I don't have really much else
And
to
you've
add
got to
in.
realise that, you know, like I said, I'm not here to convince people.
No. But I want to understand more, you know.
But I'll show a few things that kind of got me thinking.
All right. So, Jace, you're going to have to be quick on the
And
mark
about
here.
the Antarctic thing. The thing about the Antarctic thing and the space thing that really gets to me, and this is just, you know, for a lot of things I don't need to prove because it's just logic. You know, for example, the longest standing treaty is the Antarctic Treaty, which was devised, I think, in '59, which is a year after NASA, coincidentally. And down there, you know, like the Russians, the Chinese, and the Americans are all cooperate. You know, they cooperate. There's no war there. They are always kind of cooperate.
What does that say?
Just like they do in space, you know. So this is what gets me. They feed us this crap that they're at war on the 6 o'clock news or they're enemies on the 6 o'clock news, yet they're cooperating in Antarctica and they're cooperating in space. So now, you know, that to me just doesn't hold water.
So because one organisation within a government can cooperate with another one, yet they have a trade war going on, that means it's all false.
Not just a trade war. Sometimes it almost gets to the stage of hot wars.
But not America and China, not America and, you know, I'm sure Afghanistan's not up in the ISS at the moment.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they feed us. We're meant to believe by what they feed us that they're at odds here. But if they're really at odds, They shouldn't be up in space together. Wouldn't they be going, right, we're pulling our shots? Where you can't use our rockets to fire up your stuff anymore because they use mostly Russian rocket engines at the moment. So, you know, I mean, that's, you know, trade war my ass is what I say. But anyway, we'll get...
I don't necessarily see the connection between, because one area of the government's not in agreement with this other area of the government, that means a scientific thing can't agree or work together, even if they're not best of buds.
Yeah, even that doesn't hold water to me. Because, I mean, it's still government.
Sure.
I mean, okay, that's the government. See what I mean by compartmentalisation, and people, you know, I mean...
So what do we, let's have a look at some things.
Let's go to a video called Why Do People Believe the Flat Earth?
Why do people believe the Earth is flat?
Correct.
Let's bring
Now,
that
here's
one
some
up.
just common things that the flat Earth is pretty much go on about and uses justification for...
So just have a look at the screen there. Which one of those videos is it?
BBC News.
Put in... why do people believe the Earth is flat? ODD.
ODD? Oh, ODD? Is that the...
Channel.
So we
probably
need to
better to do that on actual YouTube.
This one here, ODD. Oh, sorry, no. Let's search on the street.
So give us some more stuff as well, because obviously we're in a live stream at the moment. We can't just sit here looking at each other while there's stuff going on.
Another thing is plane flights. Have you looked into that?
Yep.
Yeah, they tend to make more sense on flat Earth. They make a lot more sense on flat Earth, actually.
Well, it depends. If you believe in gravity, it's not a problem. If you don't,
No, I just mean the actual
flat Earth.
the paths, the flight paths. You know, they veer all the way up here, come all the way down here, and then when you put it on a flat Earth map, it looks straight ahead, and it makes sense. It makes a lot more sense.
The whole thing about the flat Earth, it just seems to be very easily provable.
Jason, if you go to the ODD channel,
Yep. So it's just ODD channel.
YouTube ODD.
yep, and
This one here, Odd Reality.
yep, correct, and just type in there though that same kind of.
Yeah, cool. Now I'm searching.
So while Jace is doing that, the other thing that confuses me about this conversation is it seems so easy to make it an unequivocally true and accurate thing that the Earth is flat. If the Earth is flat, hang on, let me say this. If the Earth is flat, all you need to do is get up the tallest tower in Los Angeles, the tallest tower across the other side of the ocean of whatever the country is on the actual flat Earth, because if it's not a sphere, who knows what it is? I don't know. And to link together, and that's actually conversation over. Why hasn't that happened?
See, this is why, you know, like with your video and that, you said you wouldn't believe that. Well, the thing is, I probably would believe it if I seen it with my own eyes, right? But the thing is, I don't believe the video because in my mind, or what I think is the truth can be easily occulted, right? It can be, you know, it can be put across to you as accepting quite easily, you know, but in such a way that, you know, that when you're told the actual truth, because they've taught it in such a way that it's actually just accepted as, hey, it's unquestionable.
But hang on, just what about my point? Tallest tower in Los Angeles, tallest tower in, let's say, Tokyo. Connect them visually.
You're talking about thousands and thousands of miles.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we
can't see for thousands and thousands.
But there
of
is
miles.
technology that can.
Like what?
Telescopes and stuff. The other thing is, why is it night on Everest? I mean, the idea of how the sun goes around the flat Earth thing. If Everest is the highest bit, you'd always be able to see the sun.
Would you?
Yeah, totally.
See, that's your opinion. Now, I don't think you would. Because in my mind, I mean, like you said, the world's pretty big. So, you know, why would you necessarily see the sun from Everest from everywhere?
Because Everest being the highest point on the planet, I'm assuming it's still the highest.
Just because it's the highest point, it doesn't mean that you'll see the sun.
But if the sun never goes down, you would always see the sun from the highest point. It may not light up where you are.
That's like saying the guys in the ISS are always in sunlight, and I've seen darkness up there.
Well, of course, because when they go behind the Earth and the Earth's between them and the sun, they're going to be in darkness. That makes logical sense. When the sun goes down on you mean the Pacific Islands? But
it's because the ISS isn't.
But when the sun goes down in the Pacific Islands or out here, even off the coast,
what's that saying? That the truth can be occulted and can be kept hidden, so that when it's actually presented to you in such a manner as it's false, you know. I mean,
But do you?
It creates a gag reflex simply because the idea is so batshit crazy. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, was it Mark Twain that said it? It's easier to teach people a lie than it is to convince them they believe in one. And that's bloody true, mate. In my experience, that's really...
What about the sunsets and the sun going down? Are you going to say that's perspective and it goes away?
Yeah, definitely.
That's
what I
clearly
see.
not the place.
It goes away and gets smaller.
No, that's
Have
one.
you looked at the sun pass and where the sun rises and where it sets different times of the year?
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense on a ball.
No, but when it goes down, it goes down. It doesn't turn into a pinprick, which would have to do with perspective, and then it's gone.
Yeah, it does. I don't see it go down. It gets further away.
So we should have a beer tomorrow night over on the coast. I reckon that'd be a really good idea. And watch the sun. We'll go hold hands and watch the sun go down.
You mean because you can see half the sun or something? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean that when the sun's, say, 30 degrees above the horizon.
Yeah, but that's perspective again.
It's the same size when it's on the horizon.
But that's perspective.
No, it's not. Perspective means it goes away and gets smaller.
Yeah. That's what you're saying.
If it's the same size 30 degrees above the horizon as it is on the horizon, it hasn't gone away.
Buddy, you've got to do some bloody studying on perspective, I tell you, because you're not understanding it.
Okay. But you're suggesting that the sun goes away.
That means I have no doubt. Like, that's why when it comes to gets closer, it appears to be rising, doesn't it? But that's due to perspective as well. And then it appears to go sink.
Let's just get this one point clear. Yeah. Right? This one point.
Yeah.
You say the sun travels away from us?
No, well, it travels to us too, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I'm just talking about a sunset, right? It travels away from us. Yeah. That means the sun would go, looking to the camera, would go smaller, pinprick, gone. Whereas what the sun does is actually goes down and then disappears.
No, that's what it does in your mind. That's how you think of it. But you're not understanding perspective. Like I said, you've got to read up in perspective. Okay. Seriously.
So would you come and watch a sunset with me? And you could explain. No, seriously. And
with a beer.
Yeah, totally. And you could explain it to me.
Sure.
Let's do that.
And I'll find a decent. I'll send you a link so you can learn up on perspective. Yeah. And this isn't a flat Earth thing. This is scientific perspective.
But just so I'm clear, you'll say the sun goes away and turns into basically a size of a pinprick, and then you can't see it anymore.
Well, it appears to get smaller, yes.
Yeah. And I'm saying the sun...
And it appears to get bigger when it's coming to you.
And I'm saying the sun goes down
but seriously, it's not getting bigger.
And stays the same size.
It's not getting smaller.
I'm saying the sun goes down and stays the same size.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got a date. A beer and a sunset.
Yeah. I don't understand how you think it goes down.
Well, look, I guess that's a part of the thing we can figure out. Right, let's get on to your video because I want to go home.
Have you found it yet?
I want to go home and see and eat food and stuff.
This is the channel, which I can't find one that's called... Can
I show you it on my phone?
Pass the phone.
We'll just hold the phone up in front of the camera.
I'll see if I can find the...
The other thing, so do you think, just so while he's figuring this out, the flat Earth model kind of has the sun going around over the Earth like this and the moon kind of travelling as well around like this?
I don't...
Whatever the exact model is, but that's the base.
I don't even know if I buy that model completely, I mean, I like to use my imagination and think, well, what else could it be? I don't know if you heard of Darren Nesbitt. He used to be on Facebook and he came up with a Pac-Man model. Have you heard of that one?
I don't think so.
Like there's almost like doors, if you like, so the sun goes here and then it magically appears like a Pac-Man. You know how the Pac-Man goes through one side and appears at the other?
Yep.
Yeah, a model like that.
I found it. I was on the wrong channel.
Is this us?
And it didn't convince me in the end, but I thought it was a great idea, using your imagination.
That noise is not coming through my headphones.
With what you can observe.
Turn your phone's playing the noise.
Your phone's playing the noise? Ooh. Turn your phone off. What's going on? Professionals in this place, for God's sake. Are we watching something? What are we watching?
Where should I jump to?
We're not watching 32 minutes. Where are we jumping to?
Okay, well, depends what you want to talk about, really. I mean,
I want you to leave us with a couple of things. It's time to wrap this up.
Okay.
This mofo up so I can go and eat.
The Earth is officially classified.
Okay, let's... You're talking about NASA before.
Mm-hmm. The evil conglomerate that they are.
I don't think they're evil.
Bastards.
I don't think they're evil.
Lying, fascist
I think a lot
bastards.
of people there are actually... Let's go to, say...
Hey, there's Neil deGrasse Tyson. I really like him.
Yeah, let's play this.
Do you like him?
This. I mean...
Is he your favourite man?
It's an oblate.
He's funny.
Officially, it's an oblate spheroid.
It's an oblate spheroid.
But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
It's got a fat
A little
ass.
chubbier.
So that's not as fair to me.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped.
Pear-shaped?
Pear-shaped. It's like pear.
And this is science, right?
So apparently it's a pear-shaped oblate spheroid. Sounds fine to me, but there seems to be issues when NASA puts
And
out
look at the
images
pictures
from
here.
the Earth.
Yep.
There's totally different sized land masses in all of them,
Yep.
which is inconsistent.
What do you mean different size land masses?
Well, look at the size of Africa there. Look at the size of America there. It's covering just about... Look at the size it's covering. Look at that.
I've seen a debunking video to this, but we won't go into it right now.
Totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, these pictures just don't make any sense, but this is what they expect us to accept. I mean,
Okay.
it's just... In my mind, it's bollocks.
Okay. So you trusting what you're seeing here? So
No, I'm not.
No, okay. So here's a question. Now, this is a fair
Because
question.
I'm saying that's bullshit.
No, but this is a fair question. You're trusting that what you're being shown here, in other words, you're trusting the evidence in front of you to prove your point. That means the pictures there you're using as evidence,
That's not evidence to me.
but you're using it evidence to prove your point because you're saying it's wrong.
Well, just look at it is all I ask.
But you won't look at the helicopter landing.
Yeah, I looked at it, but I don't accept it.
All right. What's next?
I mean, what did David Copperfield do? He made Statue of Liberty disappear. I mean, am I meant to believe everything I see put on?
That really did happen, didn't it?
Okay.
Let's do two more, and then we're going to go home.
I am just about over, actually, because I'm not here to prove anything.
No, I get it.
What I want people to do is question things themselves.
Yeah.
Go out there and find the curvature and do a curvature test
Should we
yourself.
do a beer on the beach and invite people through your Facebook page? Like, seriously, let's go do a beer on the beach. Because I'm up. I mean, if you show me turning into a pinprick, we'll then go from there and see what happens.
Well, look, a pinprick. I mean, are we going to measure that?
My words, getting smaller, significantly smaller till we can't see it anymore. Can we just bring up a sunset, please, on YouTube? I just want to bring up one sunset before we go. Yeah, let's live a pretty
It doesn't matter
sunset.
what you bring up. Doesn't matter what I bring up, because I don't think I'm going to convince you of anything. Not that I intend to, but you're not going to convince me of anything.
Do a
either.
video of a sun going down, and that'll be like that'll be.
All I ask
Sun
people out
going
there
down.
is question things yourself. Go out and test things for yourself.
This will be metaphoric of the sun coming down on our conversation.
If you believe you're walking upside down here in New Zealand on a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour and it rains upside down, test it.
It's that thing though again that.
Too many songs named Sun Goes Down. Sorry.
Oh, just get a sunset. Look up Fiji sunset. Why are you in there? Get onto YouTube.
I am on YouTube.
No, you're not. You're in Google. YouTube.com.
They're the same thing.
Man, I got to get better.
It's all the same. It's all the same people.
Just go.
You see, even this
sunset.
picture here. Look at this picture here.
Yep.
I mean, they tell you how they do that. You know, that they say that they've got a satellite up there.
Yep.
That they've looked at the colour, and it's basically algae representation. And then when you see the cloud formations, they actually repeat the cloud formations like Control Z. You know.
Right.
And then he says,
So you're saying it's all kind of graphics. They're making
he
it.
admitted it himself. The guy that actually made Blue Marble, they got the award for it, came out and admitted it was Photoshop. It's Photoshop, but we had to do it. And he says it himself. Just like the guys, let's go to one thing before we go.
A
One
sunset.
thing,
That's what we want to go to.
and no. You've
Look at
had
that.
you've had your turn.
Look at this. Oh shit! Is that an hour, bro? What are you doing?
It's slow.
Just one
it's
thing
called,
before
it's
you
called
go.
slow TV. It's all the rage in the Netherlands.
God.
Hold on.
I've enjoyed my time here.
Yeah, it's been fun. No, do time lapse sunset. Those are the
Oh,
words you want to
you
put
didn't
in.
say that to start with,
I
did
mean,
you?
you're a professional for God's sake. Man, I feel like I'm
sometimes.
pissed. Here we go. Let's look at this and then we'll do your one.
Here we go. Hold on.
Here we go. You watching? Let's watch it turn into a pinprick. My word, not yours.
I mean, what did that guy Lawrence say, who was Mossad and CIA? I mean, even he came out and says, it's flat, you've all been fooled, da-da-da. I mean, if you Google a few people, that well-known people, insiders, that have come out and actually blown the model to bits, they tell you themselves. I mean, you've got a lot of insiders that have become whistleblowers. I mean, if people really did their research, they'd see all this, they'd find all this. There's no need to actually think you're out there all alone. I mean, if you do the research and you go out and find the facts of people that have been insiders, there's actually pilots coming out now and saying, and they're risking losing their jobs and saying, no, we can't find curvature. No, we do not dip the nose. No, da. I mean, the evidence is out there. The facts are out there. It's up to you to decide what they are. But if you're not prepared to do the work and dig down and be unbiased for a start, because, hey, man, I didn't want to believe the earth was flat, right? That's not what I went out there. Like I said, I found so much overwhelming evidence that I couldn't deny it.
You know what? You just had the final word. We'll leave it there. Thanks. It's been fun, man. I know this is like the one I've been looking forward to do most of all. And as you say, you didn't come to convince anyone. I didn't come to convince anyone. I just was really interested in believing what you believe. And I get it. And I really am
Not
serious.
believing what I believe, hearing what I believe.
Hearing what you believe, yeah. And I'm serious. We're going to do, we'll wait till there's a fine night. We'll do a beer on the beach over in Sinclair or something and watch the sun go down together.
Yeah, man.
I'll watch the sun go down and you'll watch the sun go away.
Perspective.
Now, if people want to find out more about you, the name of the Facebook page?
Hey, it's not about me.
No, about
it's about Flat Earth New Zealand. Check it out.
All right.
Facebook.
Dion Mārie, thank you for coming in.
It's
been a blast. And I'll talk to the helicopter pilots I know, and if we can sort that out, we'll do that as well.
We're
done. Awesome.
Be cool. Wow.